It has taken exactly 6 years down the lane. We were in June, from the month of May, June, July, talking about the saga of the Catholic University of Buya. And 6 years down the lane, 2026, news is running around that Reverend Father Nkeze apologized openly using the social media to the Bishop of the Diocese of Buya, Bishop Bibi Michael. And we remember back then when Bishop Bibi was saying that it's because Father Nkeze wrote to Rome asking the Pope to destitute him as Bishop of Buya, that he does not have the mantle to be Bishop of Buya. And so he went on vacation, and Bibi gave him a certain period of time that if he elapses, he is going to be rid of his pastoral qualification. And he said that when that for that time he could not he could not ordain him. And so the next part of this video is promising to be very interesting, because at the same time we are going to weigh the weight of the public apologies that Reverend Father Nkeze is presenting to Bishop Bibi these days. Is it a calculated personal move, or it is maturity? Stay with me. Good people, good day. Before I say one single word about Father George Nkeze, his apology, or the Diocese of Buya, I want to say something to you, the people who are watching this video right now. Some of you have been with this channel for some time now. Some of you found us last month through the Ifudo story, or the gold smuggling number, or the Chemo affair. Wherever you join us, thank you. Thank you so much. Every state you watch, every WhatsApp forward you see, every share on Facebook, this is not a small thing. This is what keeps Cameroon Wahala independent. Nobody sponsors what I am about to tell you, or what you are going to hear here. What you don't know is that you are the sponsor. So today, let's talk about a letter, and about why the argument over how it is, frankly, a distraction from what actually matters. Let's establish the facts in order, because half the confusion online comes from people who have not read the document. October 2023, Bishop Bibi, during a catechism-session, is asked directly about the suspension of 3 priests, including Reverend Father Nkeze, Father Felix Kapu, and Father Henry Tatua. His explanation is simple. Father Nkeze was recalled from the Catholic University Institute of Buya and did not return to the diocese by the date fixed. His faculties were suspended. Father Kafu and Father Tutuma were fidel donor missionaries in the Diocese of Charlotte, USA. Their mandate had expired. The bishop asked them to come back home by September the 1st, 2023, and they did not comply and suspended as well. The bishop was clear on one thing that people forget. This was never framed as big fish, small fish. His words: there is no big fish or small fish in this diocese. Everyone answers to the same canonical process. If they return, if they accept new assignments, the door to restoration is open. Now, fast forward to February 6, 2026. Father Nkeze writes a letter, not to the public, to his bishop. In it, he thanks Bishop Bibi for taking his call during a family bereavement, express condolences, and then gets to the substance. He acknowledges he made errors in judgment by not fully complying with the directives given to him as a priest incarnated in the Diocese of Buya. he asks in his words for fatherly understanding and forgiveness. He commits renewed to his priestly calling. Then, on July the 29th, 2026, barely a day before we are recording this, the diocese issued an official communiqué signed by the bishop himself, confirming receipt of that letter. And here is the line that should end the entire controversy tonight. The communiqué states in plain language that Father Nkeze has expressly authorized the bishop to make this apology known to the clergy, the religions, the lay faithful, and all people of goodwill. That is not a leak. That is not a betrayal of confidence. That is a priest who asks for his own act of contribution to meet the public. Because in a diocese where the disputes had already played out on television panel, in courtroom, and on social media for years, a private letter will have satisfied no one and healed nothing. Why the how did it leak question is the wrong question. Now I understand why some of you are asking, but why is this on Facebook, on TikTok, in WhatsApp group? And so it feels invasive. It feels like church business should stay inside the church. But look at the timeline honestly. This is not the first chapter of this story. It is one of the last Father Kenja did not go quietly when he was replaced at CUIB. He took the matter to court. There were panel discussions on national television debating whether Professor Ngoro was even the right appointment to replace him. Bishop Emeritus Bushu himself gave a lengthy on-record interview defending the economical process that founded the university and explaining why, in his own words, a retired bishop should not interfere with his successor's decision. This dispute has been public for years, argued in the press, in the court, in front of cameras. So when the resolution, an apology, a request for forgiveness, a stated desire to return to obedience is also made public at the priest's own request, that is not scandal. That is consistency. If the wound was public, the healing should be allowed to be public too. Here, I want to be fair to both sides of the discussion, because Cameroon Wahala does not exist to tell you what to feel, only to give you the full picture and trust you to reason it through. Some will say church discipline is a private pastoral matter, and even an authorized disclosure sets an uncomfortable precedent. Tomorrow, will every act of contribution become a priest release? That is a legitimate pastoral concern, and I will not pretend it isn't. Others will say, in a diocese where every crowd dispute was litigated in public, transparency about the resolution is not a violation. It's accountability for the faithful who watch the conflict unfold and for the institution itself. Both of these views deserve to sit in your mind tonight. I am not going to manufacture outrage over the leak when the bishop's own communiqué already answered the question. My role is to make sure you have the primary documents, not somebody's summary of them. What the letter actually says about us here is what I find worth your few minutes, more than the mechanics of publication. A man who held a position of real authority for 10 years, president of a university, a public figure who fought his removal in the court, sat down and wrote in his own hand that he made errors in judgment. He asked not the public but his bishop for fatherly understanding. I have covered political actors in this country for so many years now who have never once on any platform in any interview said I was wrong. Not about the gold smuggling numbers, not about the Football Federation collapse, not about the succession maneuvering inside the ruling apparatus. We are a political culture that treats apology as weakness. But I can say later, whatever you think of the underlying dispute, is a rare public document in Cameroon in 2026. A powerful man saying on paper with his name attached, I was wrong and I want to be received back Bishop Bibi's response, patient, unhurried, promising a considered reply, so that we can bring this matter to an end. It is in itself a model of how institutional authority can discipline without humiliating. That is the substance. That is what deserves your 15 minutes, not the question of who forwarded it first on social media. Why your support at this point matter and why it works. Now, let me speak to you plainly the way I always try to. Putting together a script like this one, reading the communiqué, cross-referring the 2023 catechism-session against tonight's letter, listening back to Bishop Bushu interview, checking what was said on the CMTV panel 2 years, 6 years ago, that makes hours. It is not something thrown together for 5 minutes before recording. I do this because you, at 40, at 50, at 65, deserve a source that respects your intelligence enough to show its work. If today's scripts help you understand something, you will only hear fragments of on WhatsApp. Do 3 things. And I ask this of you honestly, not as a formality. First, share this with the group where you first heard the rumor. Someone in that group is still confused about the timeline. You now have the facts to correct it calmly with sources. 2, subscribe on whichever platform you are watching. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. It costs you nothing. And it tells the algorithm that this is the kind of Cameroonian political and civic coverage that deserves to reach more people of your age. People who want depth, not norms. Third, and I say this without pressure, only as an invitation, consider Cameroon Wahala membership. It is what allows me to keep this independent. No sponsor tells me what to say about the Diocese of Koya, about fake vote, about the presidency. Your membership is what protects that independence. In return, you get the deeper cut, the documents behind the story, and a direct line into what we cover next. I am not asking you to trust me blindly. I am asking you to judge me the way you judge our script, by whether I show you the letter, the communiqué, the video timestamps, and let you draw your own conclusion. That is the standard I hold myself to every single time we meet. Here is my closing thought for you, and it applies far beyond this one diocese. Knowledge that stays in your head changes nothing. Knowledge that moves into action actually transforms the world. And so, knowledge that moves into conversation with your neighbors, into a calmer WhatsApp reply instead of a panic forward, into a vote, into a question you ask your local representative. That is the knowledge that has weight. When you understood that Father Kenja's letter was authorized, not leaked, that changes how you talk about it tomorrow. When you understood that Bishop Bibi's process has been consistent since 2023, no big fish, no small fish, that changes how you judge the next institutional disputes you hear about. That is the entire purpose of this channel. Not to entertain you for 15 minutes, but to leave you slightly harder to mislead than you were before you press play. Thank you for your 15 minutes. Thank you for the share that keep arriving in my message every single week. Thank you for treating this as more than content, because I do not treat it that way either. This is Cyrille le Maire for Cameroon Wahala. Information without filter. Until next time, stay out of trouble. Bye-bye.